The Buffalo Bills are off to a perfect 3-0 start and by most accounts are probably the best team in the entire NFL. So in today's video, I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills and why I think they are primed to get over the hump in the 2025 NFL season. Subscribe and like the video if you do go on to enjoy. Let's hop into it. So the Buffalo Bills are off to a really good start. They won in week 1 versus the Baltimore Ravens, then had 2 fairly easy matchups versus the New York Jets and Miami Dolphins. Of the 3 games, clearly the Baltimore Ravens game has the most weight to it, as the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins, while both teams in the same division, and division games are always going to be difficult, those 2 teams clearly are not as good or even close to being as good as a Buffalo or a Baltimore. So of the games here that we have seen so far, that first week 1 game still holds the most weight. Still though, in a 11-day span since September 7th to September 18th, they won 3 games. So with a shorter week, they were able to handle their business. Let's get this out the way. If there was an MVP voting today, everyone would be voting for Josh Allen. Josh Allen is playing some incredible football right now. So far on the season, he has 755 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He hasn't really had to play Superman yet outside of week 1. Of course, week 1, he had to put the cape on. But in week 2, he didn't really have to do a whole bunch. They cruised to a victory versus the New York Jets, a game in which James Cook looked really good. We'll talk about him here in just a little bit. And then versus the Miami Dolphins, yes, he put up the touchdowns, but in a lot of ways, he wasn't doing anything crazy or anything like that. He was playing clean football, and that's kind of been what he's been doing all year long. Getting the ball into the right place at the right time without turning the football over, playing within himself while also making some splash plays here and there. I think Josh Allen is playing some incredible football. When you compare the start of his season this year to past years, look, Josh Allen has put up some massive numbers, but as you guys are seeing on screen, he's also thrown quite a bit of interceptions. Now, I know it's only 3 weeks into the season, but we saw growth from him last year with the turnover issues, and it looks like this year he's taken a big step forward. He's really taking care of the football. I can honestly not even tell you how many times I've seen him throw a play that maybe could have been picked off or maybe a fumble or anything like that. He's just playing some really superb, clean football. He's playing at such a high level that as long as you have a guy like Josh Allen playing at this level, you're going to have a chance to potentially make a deep playoff run. But of course, it's not just the quarterback on the team. You have to look at all the other pieces that are on the roster. Let's start off with this running back, Mr. James Cook, who just got paid, and he is playing some incredible football. So far in the season, he has 53 rushing attempts for 284 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 9 receptions. Obviously, he's kind of become known as somebody who can get a lot of touchdowns. And to start off this year, he's off to a fiery start. I mean, this guy is just a clean football player. He does not turn the ball over. He does not fumble. You can use him in a variety of different packages. He's not maybe a bruisier style back. Like, you're not going to put him under center with 1 yard to go. You're probably going to hand the ball off to Josh Allen or even potentially like a Ray Davis. But James Cook can just do a whole lot of other things. That run he had against the New York Jets was a thing of beauty. Like, all the guys he can make miss. He's such a special athlete and elite talent. And at least through 3 weeks, I'm sure the Buffalo Bills are happy they got this guy paid. I expect him to continue this level of play, potentially make a Pro Bowl, maybe even an All-Pro. I mean, we've seen Saquon not necessarily have the greatest start. He's off to a great start. Let's see if he can keep it up. You also have to talk about the offensive line. This offensive line has been really good so far this year. Josh Allen has only been sacked 4 times through 3 games. He hasn't had a ton of pressure on him. They're opening up a ton of rushing lanes for James Cook. And again, more importantly, they're keeping their franchise quarterback upright. Josh Allen is making a ton of plays. The offensive line is holding up. When the offensive line doesn't hold up, Josh Allen can make plays. He can get out of the pocket. It just makes for an offensive line that can protect a mobile quarterback. But when the offensive line maybe struggles on a play, that mobile quarterback can help that offensive line out. It's a really nice a combination of athletic quarterback with great offensive line. It's what's made Jalen Hurts and the Eagles Super Bowl champions, Mahomes and the Chiefs champions in the past, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, they've been really close too. If you want to be a good team, you have to have a somewhat mobile quarterback with a really good offensive line, and that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills have. Now, in terms of receivers, I wouldn't necessarily say any of the receivers have really stepped up, but I would say like in past seasons, they've done their job. Keon Coleman currently leads the team with 158 receiving yards, but not too far behind is Dalton Kincaid with 151, Khalil Shakir with 121, and then Joshua Palmer with 113. Also have to show some love to James Cook with 71 yards in his own right. Again, this team doesn't have like their Stephon Diggs, who for many years was that go-to guy. They may not have their AJ Browns, their CeeDee Lambs, their Jamar Chases, those sort of guys, but I just think they have a bunch of guys that sort of get the job done. Keon Coleman is clearly the most talented of the group, but he still is lacking in certain ways. But through 3 games, he has over 180 yards. I could see him having a season where maybe he gets close to 1,000. He can make a ton of plays down the field. He's a big athlete. Again, he's not really the nuanced route runner or this insane 4.3, Tyreek Hill type speed, but he's a big body guy who can make spectacular catches. He can win downfield. And even though he may not be the most nuanced or have the most separation ability, he can win with a lot of contested catches. He leads the team in targets, but he also leads the team in receptions, 14 receptions with 18 targets. I mean, this is a pretty nuanced group of guys that all kind of specialize in certain things. If you guys watched my Chargers videos, you guys would know that I was quite excited about that receiving core because you had Ladd McConkey, who can work in the interior, Keenan Allen, who can work sort of on the outside and in the inside, but can really be an intermediate and third down guy. Quentin Johnston can work on the outside while also being sort of a gadget guy. And then you have some other guys too that can win downfield. That's why I was excited about them. They may not have had this super elite upper echelon talent, but they had a bunch of guys that filled a role. That same thing can also be said about the Buffalo Bills, where you have Khalil Shakur, who can really work in the underneath and more of a slot guy. Keon Coleman, who can win downfield and on the outside. Joshua Palmer, who's like the perfect complement to these guys. A nice size receiver that can win in the intermediate while also winning downfield as well. You throw in some tight ends like Dalton Kincaid, who can do a lot of things too, and I think it makes for a really nice offense that may not have a true alpha #1 top 15 wide receiver in the league, but just a group of guys that do their job and do their job at a very high level. Would it be nice if this team had their prime Stephon Diggs or again a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? Yeah, absolutely. But those guys get paid what they get paid for a reason. If I'm the Bills and I can focus on paying my offensive line and paying my quarterback, and I can get away with not having to pay my receivers so much, then obviously I'm going to do that. If I can have a receiving core that makes a total of, I don't know, let's just say $20 million combined this upcoming season, while I'm paying my quarterback almost $60 million and my offensive line a crap ton of money, that just makes more sense to spend your money in that way, especially if it's working for your team. There are some teams out there, take for example the Carolina Panthers, that need help in the receiving core because their quarterback comes with certain limitations. But in the case of the Buffalo Bills, their quarterback has no limitations. He's a freak athlete. He's well-sized. He can throw the ball accurately in the intermediate, underneath, and down the field. So for your receivers, all they have to do is be schemed open in some ways or just have 1 or 2 traits that make them special. Take, for example, Keon Coleman. And next thing you know, you have a receiving core that really fits the need of a Josh Allen. It's kind of been interesting where people have been projecting them to draft receivers in mock drafts, but I've never really been somebody who agreed with that, even though I'm sure I've done that a couple times here and there. But I've always felt like this team didn't really have to do it because Josh Allen is just that damn good. So fortunately for this team, they can put their focus on the draft on the offensive line, at running back, corner, or somewhere on the defense. So this offense is really good. The engine is Josh Allen, and when Josh Allen is fully going, this offense is nearly unstoppable. Just go ask the Baltimore Ravens. And then when you look on the defensive side of things, this is a really solid defense that right now is a little bit empty-handed. Obviously, in week 1, they kind of got pantsed a little bit by the Baltimore Ravens, giving up 40. They had to come from behind. They made some stops late as well as got the turnover on Derrick Henry, so give them their flowers. But on the day, the Ravens really held their own. They did a damn good job. They gave up 432 total yards on the day, so take that as you will. But these past 2 weeks, they completely shut down the New York Jets, and against the Miami Dolphins, they held their own. The Miami Dolphins were able to move the ball, but it felt like every yard was sort of hard to earn. They only had 276 total yards. They also threw an interception that basically sealed the game. So the Buffalo Bills handle business. But as I mentioned, this team is pretty depleted right now. Michael Holt, Larry Ogunjobi, both of their 2 quote-unquote big tickets from free agency are both suspended, so they got to wait for those guys. Ed Oliver's out. You have Matt Milano, who's out right now. Maxwell Hairston, their first-round pick, hasn't played a snap yet. There's some issues with his health as well. So when these guys do come back, you're going to get a fully healthy and, in my opinion, a better equipped defensive line. I also got to throw out Landon Jackson, who's also out. But you're going to have more depth there, more variety, more impactful starters on that defensive line. And assuming Maxwell Harrison steps in there and makes some plays, you might have a potential starting corner as well. I'm not saying this defense is going to go from right now probably a pretty average defense to all of a sudden this top 5 defense, but adding those guys in for sure will help this unit. If the unit without those guys is, let's say, 15th in the league, add those guys in, they might move up to like the 12th, 11th, or 10th best defense in the NFL, because having depth, variety on the defensive line, adding a potential impactful starter at corner who might be able to make some plays if he plays well, obviously that's going to impact your defense. If there's one thing this defense does severely lack in that they don't really have much control of this season to fix the issue, barring a free agency acquisition, would be their safeties. Right now, it's Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp. You also have Damar Hamlin, who, we all know the story, but he hasn't played particularly well. Those guys are fine. Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, they're about as average or maybe slightly below average as they get. Neither guy is particularly great in coverage. Neither guy is particularly really special in run defense. We saw Derrick Henry make those guys look kind of silly multiple times. They don't have elite size, elite strength. They don't really have a super elite trait that helps them separate themselves from other safeties out there. I wouldn't be surprised if in this upcoming season or draft season, they really look at potentially upgrading the safety room. Fortunately for them, this upcoming class actually looks pretty solid at safety, so they might go that path. Not saying they're going to get Caleb Downs, but if they can somehow pull off a Caleb Downs move, I'm here for it, but I don't think that's going to happen. But there's some really good safety prospects in the draft, and I'm sure they'll probably look at free agency too, though they're probably pretty handicapped with their salary right now, but we'll talk about that in the offseason. You can maybe discuss a Justin Simmons move if he's still available. And if you maybe wanted to add a bit more depth to your secondary, there are some options still available in free agency, but usually if you're making a mid-season acquisition, it's usually not that impactful. Justin Simmons might be the one guy that could still kind of go, though I don't know if he would be a huge difference maker for this Bills defense. I feel like he'd be just as good as what they probably have on the roster right now, with maybe just a little bit more experience and maybe a bit better play. So I don't know, a Justin Simmons move, I don't think it's earth-shattering, but it's a potential move that they could make if they feel like their safeties are really holding them back. You could also make a trade. The trade deadline's several weeks away, so they could also make a trade. Not sure who would be available, but if you want to find somebody out there, I'm sure they could find somebody pretty intriguing, like maybe a Kyle Duggar. I don't know if he's on the trade market or on free agency, but maybe Kyle Duggar could be an option. Like, that's probably not going to happen. He's a Patriot, but you get my point. All in all, though, I like where this defense is at. I think once they get healthy, they'll have a bigger rotation on the defensive line. When you get Matt Milano fully healthy, he's a great linebacker. He's still playing at a high level. Your secondary should get better with the acquisition of Maxwell Harrison getting more involved. I like where this defense is at right now. I think they can get much better. They're going to have to play much better if they want to beat the likes of the Baltimore Ravens or somebody else come the postseason. But then we look at the rest of their schedule, and spoiler alert, it's really not that difficult. Next week, they will be versing the New Orleans Saints, then the New England Patriots, and then lastly, the Atlanta Falcons, all before their bye week. I believe heading into their bye week, they should and will be 6-0. I don't see any of those teams really posing a massive threat. Of those games, Atlanta is probably the most difficult one. Patriots won't be easy, but I do think the Buffalo Bills would be heavy favorites in both those games. After the bye week, you have the Carolina Panthers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then in week 12, you have the Houston Texans. Up to week 12, I gotta be honest with you, I think the Buffalo Bills should probably be favored in every single one of these games. Now, it does get a little bit more difficult. The Chiefs are a good team. I know they're off to a poor start this year, and you're seeing everyone criticize them. They should be a good team. Once they get fully healthy, they'll be even better. They have issues. They're not a perfect team. I think Buffalo would be favored, assuming things sort of stay the same, no injuries, anything like that. I think Buffalo would be favored, but not by much. That game could go either way. Miami's winnable. Tampa Bay's a really interesting team. They're a good team, but they're banged up right now on the offensive line, so I can see Buffalo winning that one. CJ Stroud on that Texans offense cannot score points. Not really Stroud's fault. It is a little bit, but that offensive line stinks. I think Buffalo wins that one. So up to week 12, I could realistically see them going somewhere like 10-1 or 9-2. But then after it doesn't get that much harder either. Week 13, Pittsburgh. 14, Cincinnati. 15, New England. 16, Cleveland. Philadelphia week 17, week 18, the New York Jets. This is not a hard schedule. There's hard matchups here and there like Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Houston won't be a cakewalk, Atlanta won't be a cakewalk, Philadelphia definitely won't be. But around those games are very winnable matchups. I don't even know if Cincinnati will be much of a threat this year because of Joe Burrow potentially not playing in that game. If Burrow does play on that December 7th game, Burrow might be back. Like that might be his comeback week. I don't know if that's going to happen. They might just sit him for the entire year. So based off this schedule, they're 3-0 right now. I think they'll be 6-0 by the bye week. Assuming they don't slip up too often, maybe they slip up once and lose to a random team like, I don't know, maybe they lose to the Bengals or the Browns somehow. I personally would take the Bills over the Chiefs, Bucks, and Texans. And as we sit here today, I would take them over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we got a long season still ahead. That game is way down all the way into the very end of 2025. So I might change my opinion by then. But as we sit here today, my money would be on the Buffalo Bills. I'm not saying the Bills will go 17-0 and be the #1 seed in the AFC. But based off this schedule and the way I'm seeing it after 2 weeks for most teams, 3 for the Buffalo Bills, I think the Bills will be favored in basically every game minus the Eagles game and maybe, depending if the Chiefs can turn it around, maybe the Chiefs game. But I think they'll be favored in most of those games. So I could see a year where they go 14-3 or 15-2. I think anything less than 13-4 would be a severe disappointment. Like if this team goes 12-5, that would be pretty disappointing because that means they probably lost to all the good teams and beat up on the bad teams. But clearly this team is good. They just beat the Baltimore Ravens, who were my week 1 #1 team in the entire NFL, and I still think the Ravens are right there. I have them at #2. All I'm saying, if you are a Bills fan, you should be very excited. I know the playoffs have been sort of tough territory for you because you've been oh so close just to lose to Kansas City or somebody in sort of a dramatic fashion. With the way the season is currently looking, with the way the AFC is looking, it's super early, things will change, so let's not overreact. But I don't really see Kansas City as a serious threat right now. I think that they have Mahomes, Andy Reid, and a good defense. That will get them through. But Rashee Rice, what does he look like on his return? Worthy, does he make an impact on the offense? I just don't know if this offense has the firepower to score over 30 points on a Buffalo Bills team that should easily score 30. Baltimore, very tough. That will be a classic in the playoffs if they face off again. I think the Chargers are a good team too. Keep an eye out on them. But outside of them, like I don't fear the Texans no more. I know the Colts are playing well. We'll see if they can keep it up. I'm not going to think about that one too hard, but the Colts maybe as well. This Bills team looks poised to make a deep playoff run. I think it's AFC Championship or bust, and frankly, I think it's Super Bowl or bust for this Bills team because they're very damn good. But you let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on their 3-0 start, and what do you think the ceiling is for this team? Because for me, it's Super Bowl champions, but you let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like and subscribe button if you did enjoy. Love you guys. Peace.